Aram and Virginia are no strangers to the Armenian Institute. They have been our friends and supporters since the foundation of AI in 2001. And together with their ensembles, Kochnag and Agen, they have enriched our events calendar over the years. Ever since my late teens, I have come across references to the eight-mode system of religious chant in the Armenian church. But written sources could not tell me what it sounded like, what it was. I mean, I can understand major and minor in the European system. And of course, if you don't hear them, you don't know, you can't form an understanding of these two modes. 8 of them is even more complicated. Oh, it was obvious that one had to hear it in sung form. I jumped at the opportunity and suggested that we invite Aram and Virginia to talk and demonstrate the 8-mode system. After decades of trying to understand the mystery of this system, I'm about to find the answer within the next hour. So I invite you all to join me. Over to you, Aram and Virginia.
Thanks to the Armenian Institute for inviting us to this meeting. It's great to see so many people present. And as Gagik put it, the 8-mode system in the Armenian Church is indeed quite complicated issue, and I will try to put it in a simple way, in order to make you, not to make you understand the whole thing, but to allow you to notice a few things which are different comparing to what you might know in, especially from the Western music point of view of the Western music. So this is a subject which can go on for hours and days and weeks. So in our limited time lapse, we will try to see the main aspects of it. You will also hear a few examples, short samples. Not all of the modes, as Gagik would like to. We won't have time for this, but a few of them. Now let's start with this with the terminology. In fact, what is the 8-mode system? Now 8-mode ut zain is voice, as you know, is exactly literally the same term as Oktoechos used in the Latin world, in the Latin language, for the Gregorian chant. Oktoechos, like in the Byzantine chant, and also osmoglasnik. I don't speak Slavonic, neither Russian, so maybe that we can pronounce it better. In the Slavonic word. So the Russian Orthodox Church also uses this term. Now it is sign, voice, ethos, means at the same time musical mode, and we will come there. What does musical mode mean? As you see on the left side, you have sign, ethos, the Greek term, and the Persian term, avaz, which is exactly the same thing as sign, which also designates voice and musical mode. There are other terms used very much in the Middle East and elsewhere, like Latin modus, which means manner, and we have yaganak in Armenian, which is also manner, season, melody, and mode. We have the Persian name dastgah, which is a device, an apparatus, but in the musical sense, it took the meaning of musical mode. The Arabic makam, the same. It's the marketplace originally, and the place where the musician stood in the marketplace to tell his story or to sing. The Indian grama is also another way of putting together all the ragas, all the modes. So you see that there are terms which are daily life, part of the daily life, and which have taken the essence, a musical sense, and explain what we call the musical mode. Now, what is a musical mode? What is a sign, ethos, avaz, or modus, or taskya, or a makam? The most apparent, the most evident aspect of it is the sound system. In the Western music, you will immediately think of scales, like the major scale, minor scale, scales. But a mode is much more than a scale. Sometimes it's not even a scale. It's a combination of different intervals, which is a group of sounds, 3 sounds, 4 sounds, or 5 sounds succeeding each other, but which are put in a certain way, in a certain distance from each other, and which come together, some of them come together and create a sound environment. Now, as the different intervals, there are many of them, and we will see why, come together and create different sound environments, they also have, because of that, all the sounds composing the mode. You can still think about scale, but you will little by little understand that scale is not enough. Let's say the scale now. All the degrees, I'm not saying notes, but the degrees have also their functions. As you have in the Western music, like you have the dominant, the final, and all these things. There are some other functions also in the modern music. And also the way the sounds relate to each other. Because of there are functions, different functions, all the sounds do not have the same function, and so they relate to each other in a specific way. When the composition of structure of the mode changes, that is, there are other sounds come, all the relations also change. And in many musics, we have also another characteristic, which is melodic patterns system. We have it in one repertoire of the Armenian church music, which is called the sharagan repertoire. We will talk about it also. And we also have it in the Iranian system, which is the gushe system. These are little melodic patterns which succeed each other. And that's how, when they succeed each other in the right way, we recognize the Iranian mode. In the melodic pattern system of the Armenian church, the sharagan melodies are almost all of them enter in this concept, in this system. And there are 2 other characteristics which usually are neglected explaining in theoretical writings or speeches. It's the emotional state created by different sound combinations. You all have heard how important it is in India, for example. A morning raga will not be played in the evening, on this kind of things. Because they all create a state of, an emotional state, a particular emotional state. And the musician's state of being is emotional state while dealing with these sounds, because these sounds affect our psyche. So all these things together, it's a way of living, let's say, a mode. A way of living, when you transpose it in a sound world, you obtain a musical mode. Now, the 8-mode system of the Armenian Church, the Oktoechos, Ut-Tzain, is an organized system, but especially we must consider that it has a double aspect, which is liturgical and musical. The liturgical aspect is quite complicated also, and it is organized in everywhere where an Oktoechos system is used. It is organized as an 8-mode system. For example, in the Latin languages, you have the principal modes and the plagals. Here in Armenian, we call them tzain and gorm. Arachin tzain, aip tza, aip gen. Arachin tzain, arachin gorm. First voice, first side. And that goes on like that. There are 8 modes. For the musical aspect, I put dots here because we will come to that later. Now we have to understand what is the liturgical function of the Armenian Oktoechos in order to understand the musical aspect. The liturgical Oktoechos, the Eight-Mode system, has two main functions: either organizing the calendar of feasts, especially by defining the mode of the day, or what sign, and organizing the content of these days, the repertoire, and the choices we make in the book of hours, the Jamakirk, the horologium. Now let's see how it goes, how it works in the calendar of feasts. If we take the cycle of the year, as you know, in the Christian world, the main feast is Easter. Easter is the zero point, day zero, day one, maybe. And it goes on 50 days of Easter until Pentecost, and then Pentecost week. Other periods, there are periods where we can commemorate saints, and others which are Lent periods. And then we have Transfiguration, which is almost always in July. Assumption, closest Sunday to the 15th of August. And then we have the Great Feast of the Cross, closest Sunday to the 14th of September. And we have Christmas, which is always on 6th of January, and which takes 8 days. Easter, as you know, it is calculated every year according to the first Sunday, the first Sunday following the full moon of spring solstice, after 21 March. The first full moon and the closest Sunday is Easter Day. So it moves every year, Easter date. As it moves every year, all the other feasts will have different number of days between them and Easter. And we have to, as we want to organize this, not only thematically, but also with a certain logic, we have the system of the mode of the day, or what sign, which is always the day of Easter, day one, is first voice mode, Arachin sign, Aipt sign. The next day is the next mode, and the next day, the next mode. It goes on like this. Every day it changes, and the cycle of 8 modes is completed in 8 days. The week has 7 days, but the number of the modes are 8. Of course, we are talking about liturgical modes here, not melodic or not musical modes. And every Sunday it goes back one mode. And how do we arrive to the first mode on Easter Day? It's by changing the mode of the day. At the first Sunday of the Great Lent, which we call the Paregentan, Mardi Gras in French, or what is it in English? I don't remember.
Mondier.
No. Paregentan.
What's it called?
So it becomes the 8th mode. We change it, whatever the mode was that day, it becomes the 8th mode, so that it goes on like this, as the same way as here. It goes on, and the first day, the Easter day, we have the first mode. So now we have, for every day of the year, we have a mode. So this mode will determine some choices. The choices are made in the Book of Hours and in other repertoires. And the Book of Hours, which is the main book, ritual book, is based on the Psalter. And the Psalter has a structure of 8 canons. The Psalter is the book which was used originally as a prayer book in monasteries during the first centuries. This is not the book of Psalms in the Old Testament. The Psalter contains psalms, but also contains all these things: canticles, supplications, prayers, litanies, and everything. It is divided into 8, just like the 8 modes. And the Book of Hours was developed during the centuries based on this Psalter, and it's full of songs and prayers to be chosen according to the mode of the day or according to the theme of the day. Now, what do we choose according to the mode of the day? We choose the psalmodies, especially what we call ganunakuluch, canon heads, which are always in the mode of the day, which are sung every day during the night office. Other psalmody, for example, little psalms that precede the reading of the Old Testament or the New Testament. There are also songs, very short songs, 1 line or 2, which have a psalmodic type recitative songs. These are chosen according to the mode of the day and sometimes according to the theme of the day. We choose sharagan songs, many of the sharagan songs, when there is no specific canon, like, for example, the day of Easter has its own canon, has its own songs. And these songs will be sung every year, the Easter day, whatever else there is in the offices. Other things will be chosen according to the mode of the day, but these sharagan songs for the Easter day, for example, or for Christmas day, they're always the same. But if there is no specific canon, the sharagan songs will be chosen according to the mode of the day. And the last thing is the choice of gospel reading, 2 by 2, couples of 2 modes, and according to this, the mode of the day, some of the gospel readings will be chosen. Now let's have a few examples. Here's a nice manuscript page from the 15th century, Avakvank, close to Yerzinga. And those who can read Armenian, they will see that all the words are incomplete. There's a point. Half of the word is there, the rest is not there. This is a manusum, that is a handbook to learn, to study, and a developed stage of pneumatic notation. And the way they wrote, it shows that people knew these things by heart, so they didn't have to write the whole text. Now the same head of canons, Ganunakuluch, in a modern Book of Hours. On the left here, we have the mode, 3rd side mode, Kimgen, and here we have Chorort Tsain, Tal Tsain, these 2 modes, and the psalms which will be sung during the night office. The first one is neumed, and the rest will be sung on the same model. They have different lengths, but we will base on this model and make variations of it. Here, when the tempo changes, we have the poch, which is the antiphonal part of it. There are again some neumes. Now Virginia will sing this first one, Arari iravunus yevartarutyun. There, the first one.
And you'll sing the second?
Yeah, and I'll sing the second one.
Arari iravuns yevarta
Зарайской пари Zimiam pardavanksız Sen zis Alleluia. So this was the third side. Now, immediately after, we will give an example of the fourth voice, Tatsain, and you will already hear that there are different sounds coming into the game. And now we are of course, as you noticed, we are pretending as if we could read these neumes, but it's not true, I'm telling you, we cannot read these neumes. But that's another subject. We can one day have a meeting about it. Janus Salmus Asatits astuzoimo mince yes.
Իշխանց որդիս մարդկան Զիվոչ քո փրկությունին նոսա
So now you can of course hear that not the melodies are different, yes, but the sounds which construct these melodies are also different, and we will see that better a little in 1 minute after I show you another two pictures of these choices we can make. Here, these are the psalmodic type songs of the morning office. On the left, we have the ones chosen according to the mode of the day, and on the right, we have the one chosen according to the theme of the day. Like at the beginning, we have here the one sung for the Ascension, and then the Pentecost, and the church feast, and tabernacle, transfiguration. Although there are, the first two have also mode indications here. Then we have, again, in the night office, we have the big litanies, which are considered to be very old, and there are 4 of them in the Psalter, 2 by 2, the same 2 groups as we use for the choice of gospel reading. These are the litanies, and each have a different prayer following. Now, in Armenian, we say yeranag, and yeranag means also melody and mode. It is very much, this use is very much related to the concept of melodic patterns, of course. But the problem is that we always think about melody when we say yeranag and not the mode, and we immediately think of melodies. But the melody is something much more ephemeral than the mode itself. The melodies come and go, they change, they die, news are created, but the modes are always there, although they change too. Now, let's see what happens with the Sharagan songs. A few words about the Sharagan song. What is a Sharagan song? Here, I put here a few points. It's a big repertoire, more than 1,300 canonical songs. They are all classified by genres according to their place in the offices, based on the Psalter. Each one is classified under one Oktoechos mode, and each one is sung in one musical mode only. You'll never have the same text sung in 2 different modes. The majority of the Sharagan songs can be recognized as part of one of the melodic pattern groups of its mode. They can also undergo tempo variations according to their function in the office, and the tempo variation may introduce a change in the melodic pattern, but remaining in the same mode. And there are a very interesting characteristic, which is the variants of the regional variants do not show any fundamental difference. They all are based on the same melodic pattern system. Now, these Sharagan songs are so popular that Armenians very often call any church song a Sharagan, which is not true. The Sharagan is a specific kind of church song. Now, the Armenian Oktoechos, its musical aspect, is the same as the liturgical one, still the division of 8 modes. And in each of these 8 modes, there are a number of Sharagan songs classified. Now let's see. We will talk about these 4 first characteristics we talked about at the beginning. We're putting aside now the emotional part of it. So the sound system, the functions, the way the sounds relate to each other, and the melodic patterns. Now, I will give you a very little fragment of 2 different Sharagan songs, which there is this line, because both follow exactly the same melodic path, let's say. I do it again. The second one. Again. So if we want to draw a line, we obtain exactly the same line for both of them. But you hear that the same melody, let's say, but not at all the same sounds. So what's happening? What is happening is that we have so many different sounds which can form a musical mode that it takes us much farther somewhere else, which has nothing to do with our concepts of minor and major modes and the Western sound system. Now, here we have all the different possibilities we have. These possibilities, explained by ratios, remain theoretical. In practice, we take this and still we change them according to the movement. So as you see, we have two tones, not only one, as you would have on your piano. We have major tone and minor tone. We have three different semitones. We have different thirds. And when we compose a tetrachord, it can contain all these different intervals, and which are called like Pythagorean tetrachord, diatonic, chromatic, and there is also a singular one, which we can see in some music schools of the Shadowgun cyclic. Now, as you see, all the ratios are with simple numbers. They're all based on 2, 3, powers of 2, 3, sometimes 5, and sometimes 7, especially 2 and 3. But if we compare it to the Western modern, contemporary, modern Western, not contemporary, but modern Western system, for example, the equally tempered fourth, if we can explain it only with these ratios, which is logarithmic. It's not arithmetic. It's logarithmic. Now, all the comparisons I will give you with the modal music and the Western music do not concern. They're not qualitative comparisons. It's not a question of which one is better or which one is I like. It's not a question of this. I'm only showing this to make you hear or understand that they are just different. You may like one or the other one. It doesn't matter. It's not our subject. But they are different. This is what we have to understand. And now on the right side, you see the Pythagorean tetrachord species. There are only one kind of major tone. Only major tone is used, and one minor tone, one semitone. But in the diatonic tetrachord species, we can use all these 4 kinds of composition. Imagine all these things, they can come together in different ways. So we have many, many modes. Now let's see the little examples that I gave you. And now we will hear them sung on a drone, a bass, a sound which is on the bass, and according to that bass, all the other sounds gain a meaning. That is, we can define the distance of these sounds with the drone, and here we have the same colors I put, and we will see that they are quite different. The colors are quite different in both. And I insist these colors do not show notes. These colors show only the distances. This is why only there is one thing here, because the sound is the same all here, the interval. Let's listen to them. Once more. The other one. Although the neumes are not that different, but they both are in different modes, and the sounds composing these modes have different distances in each of them, and you can see it clearly with the difference that makes when it's colored. Now, because we have these so many different kinds of sounds, different kinds of intervals, how are we going to manage with all these different modes in a system which has only 8 modes? Because there are many more of them. We can create tens of modes. In the Ottoman world, in the 18th century, there were about 400 of them. Because the Sultan was fond of music, and the musician would make a new combination of intervals and go and play it in the palace and get a bag of gold. But with the time, and during the 19th century especially, the number diminished, and there are still about 30-35 modes which can be used currently. So in the Armenian case, how can we deal with this with 8-mode system? And by sticking them in the 8-mode in a way or the other. So this is why we have subdivisions of the Oktoechos in the musical Oktoechos. So we have the main mode, Punyaranak, which will group all the melodic pattern groups that use the same combination of sounds. And then there will be other combinations of sounds, a little different or very different from the main one. If they form a group, if there are several of them, they will constitute the secondary modes groups, Tartsevatsk. There might be 1, 2, or 3 groups of them in each mode. And if there is only 1 or 2 which do not have any other resembling song, and not a second one or a third one which uses the same way the sound system, we will call it Zarduri, deviation. But it will still be classified under one of the Oktoechos modes. And then we have the ramifications, steric, which are, most of them are very ornate melismatic songs, where you cannot easily define the melodic pattern. So this is how we organize the songs in the Oktoechos, the musical Oktoechos. So when you choose, according to the mode of the day, your songs, it doesn't matter if it's in the main mode or the secondary mode, or if you choose them according to the theme, according to the canons. Whichever canon you have to choose, you choose it, and the songs contained in it can be in one or the other melodic pattern groups. Now, to finish, we will here we will see again the colors, this time a little more moving way, and with a fragment of song a little slower, so that you can hear, you can see better the color changes. Maral gave me the idea when I watched her workshop for the Armenian Institute for animation film, but I couldn't go too far. I didn't make any animation. So this is a very simple thing. Once more, maybe. Okay, we will hear this once more, but before that, I will give you one more comparison with the Western music. I can very well play this melody on the piano, and there will be different sounds. And let's see what become the colors. What the colors become when I play it on the piano. So the color is the same. Why? Because all the sounds have equidistant to each other. Now, what is different? Different is this. So the distances between the sounds are different, and that difference creates other differences, other ways of using the sounds, and even those distances, because of the way they come together, can be changed in practice, although the theory remains the same with simple ratios. Let's hear this once more and stop.
Thank you very much, Aram, and I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Aram and Virginia, for this fascinating talk and also the musical illustrations. Thank you. Thank you very much.